Assalamu alaikum. This is Babar from the Brownlad Experience. This is the first episode of the podcast, and with me, I have a very special guest tonight. The guest that we have is currently working at Google as manager of strategic partnerships and has over 10 years of experience working with entrepreneurial ecosystems of Pakistan. Her profile ranges from heading Impact Dynamics, an enterprise centered around entrepreneurship, enterprise and human development via customized workshops. She has also been the Google part of the Google Business Group for more than 7 years, and most recently as an entrepreneur in residence at the NIC Islamabad. Maryam is also a founding member of the NIC Islamabad, and she has worked as a first community manager for the same and has been mentoring a number of startups across Pakistan on their pitches, visuals, and digital storytelling. Maryam has also been a TEDx speaker and a speaker at the Open Silicon 2018. Besides other numerous and notable events, she is here with us. And thank you so much, Maryam, for being on this podcast and giving us a chance to interview you and get your views on different things that you want to have on.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam. So how does it feel? And again, I think we'll have to start on with saying a big thanks to you for being on this podcast, because I'm sure you have a very busy schedule and you give us a time on a very little tiny podcast that we're doing, and you're like, I'm going to be volunteering for that. So that's a very big thing for us.
Firstly, thank you, Babar, for having me. Secondly, nothing is ever tiny. Everything is very significant and important. And thirdly, everybody's busy. It's what you prioritize. So I prioritize this because it's always good to give back to your community, and I've always believed in it. So thank you for having me.
You're most welcome. You're kind enough to say that. So, Maryam, quickly tell us about the journey you went through that inspired you to become an entrepreneur, because you have a very vast experiences with that. I remember when I was at NIC, you had your Impact Dynamics, and it was something I would constantly look into, like, what are they doing? Like, oh, this is so amazing. So I wanted to know about what was that spirit, ya kya wo journey tha that really inspired you to become an entrepreneur?
There's actually a word in Urdu which translates to, which is justaju. तो एक जुस्तजू थी, एक कांस्टेंट एक एफर्ट था, एक जुनून था, and junoon is I don't know how to, it would roughly translate to, like creative madness in this case. And ever since I was a kid, when I was in 8th grade, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I did not know this term back then, but I knew that I wanted to step into business development, to say the least. And it really excited me. And then later on in life, I changed my subjects. I didn't become a doctor because I hail from a family of doctors. And there was this unsaid thing that, maybe she might also be a doctor. But no, I didn't take that path. My parents were very supportive, I have to say. Although, my grandfather, he's a doctor, and he was a little upset. He's like, what are you going to do? But he's very happy now with where I am in my life. So having said that, this is how my journey started. So वो एक 8th grade की teenager 13-year-old बच्ची जो अपने पाथ पे शुरू हुई कि नहीं मैंने ये pursue करना है, फिर business administration किया, फिर वक्त के साथ जो चीजें opportunities आती गई, I would say grab all the opportunities that you get. So I didn't say no to any opportunity. I was in university. I remember Talat Hussain, who's a renowned journalist. Mm-hmm. He came to our university. We had I got noticed by a TV channel, by a private TV channel. They asked me to host a live TV show. I said, why not? I said, what will it be about? Am I going to give back to the society? They said, yes. I had absolutely no exposure of being exposed to television before, लेकिन एक बहुत अच्छी opportunity जहाँ पे आप नौजवान नस्ल के साथ, मैं खुद भी I was very young, I was in my university, लेकिन वहाँ पे आप interact कर सकते हैं और youth के perspective से आप social और cultural issues को discuss कर सकते हैं. वहाँ से मैंने अपनी आप कह सकते हैं एक किस्म की प्रोफेशनल जर्नी का आगाज किया. हालांकि इट वाज गुड पॉकेट मनी, लेकिन वहाँ से मैंने शुरू किया और करते करते बढ़ते स्टूडेंट सोसाइटीज को हेड किया, कॉन्फ्रेंस कराई पेशावर में, पेशावर यूथ डेवलपमेंट कॉन्फ्रेंस के नाम से, अपने कॉलीग्स और अपने यूनिवर्सिटी उनके साथ फ्रेंड्स के साथ मिलके. और फिर वहाँ से जो अपॉर्चुनिटी आती गई मैंने नो नहीं किया, इनकार नहीं किया. Does that answer your question? This is how I started my journey.
Absolutely. That is such a beautiful answer because I personally believe at some point Allah आपको एक मौका देता है either to make your life or break your life. ठीक है? And you have to take that option. You have to take that option just to make your life. You don't take it, you get into other options and then you're like, gosh, मैं वो option ले लेता, and then like maybe I just didn't take that and that's the reason कि मेरी life उस aspect पे या उसके path पे नहीं जा रही जिसको मैं pursue करना चाहता था. But again, coming back to the point, since you had your फैमिली मेनली आपने जैसे बताया कि ज़्यादातर वो मेडिसिन फील्ड में थे, तो ऑब्वियसली इन ग्रोइंग अप इन ब्राउन फैमिलीज एंड स्पेशली इन पाकिस्तानी, अगर हम बात करें एशियंस को निकाल के स्पेशली पाकिस्तानी बात करें, तो एक कॉन्सेप्ट ये होता है कि दे वांट देयर चिल्ड्रन टू गो इनटू द फील्ड्स दैट देयर पेरेंट्स वर इन, बिकॉज एक सेंस ऑफ सिक्योरिटी आपको फील होती है. आई पर्सनली बिलीव इन पाकिस्तान, obviously there's nothing bad about not being an early adopter in Pakistan. Every set of people have their own mindset. So I believe Pakistan, we lack the concept of early adoption. And that is the reason why people really often suggest the same fields to their own offsprings, give a sense of security hota, so they don't really wander here and there or ठोकर ना खाएं. But I think the more you get through those processes, the more you shine brighter. And I believe that is one of the biggest reasons. अगर आप अभी देखें, you have a job which is the dream of, I think आप जितने पाकिस्तानीज़ को बताएं Google, so they'll be like, I want to work at Google. But how do you want to work in Google? No one knows that. So alhamdulillah, that's a win-win situation for you. I'm very sure your grandfather would be very proud of you right now.
Yes,
So
he's most definitely is.
I'm very sure about that, alhamdulillah. So adding another question towards this. So since you started saying कि आपका एक experience था 13 साल से आपने उसको देखा entrepreneur के processes को, and now alhamdulillah you're at Google, right? So can you walk us through about your journey into landing a job at Google? How was that? Like, what was the inspiration behind that?
Yeah. So पहली बात आपकी, I will definitely start answering your question. लेकिन something I'd like to start with, आपने बात की कि कुछ opportunities हम miss कर देते हैं और हम कहते हैं काश, जिसको हम English में roughly translate करते हैं if. तो उससे मुझे रुडयार्ड किपलिंग का if याद आ जाता है. He's one of my favorite you could say poets. Or just 2 lines I would like to say that, and I'm going to read them out, that if you dream and not make dreams your master, if you think and not make thoughts your aims, and if you meet with triumph and disaster and treat those imposters just the same. So it's all about the choices we make in our life and the paths that we go on. And I find it beautiful, and I just wanted to share it because it's so very true with all of us, with all our lives. आपकी बात से मैं बिल्कुल मुत्तफिक हूँ. I definitely agree कि it's आप क्या life path choose करते हैं. I'm the eldest in the family. थोड़ा सा अगर थोड़ा सा उसको पर्सनल जर्नी पे लेके जाएं तो आई एम द एल्डेस्ट इन द फैमिली, सो आई डिडंट हैव दैट प्रेशर क्या बड़े कह रहे हैं, बड़े सिबलिंग्स कह रहे हैं कि भाई ये पाथ इस पे ट्रेड करो. लेकिन एक जनरल परसेप्शन होती है ब्राउन फैमिलीज में, बिल्कुल सही कह रहे हैं, हम रिस्क नहीं लेना चाहते हैं, रिस्क अवर्स होते हैं. ये एक चैलेंज है हमारा. Coming to your question, आप मुझे बताएं, in my train of thoughts I completely lost the question.
No, absolutely. I think अभी भी आपने जो process बताया, the poetry you did here, if का जो बताया, it really I think resonates with a lot of people here. Your dreams shouldn't be just your dreams. Your dreams should be a way of like having that aim where you want to be, and it should be there in that process as well. So I think that really helped you landing a job at Google as well. But I want to know more about the journey.
Okay.
What really inspired you, and how the process was? If for instance, if someone from Pakistan or anyone who's looking up to you in order to land a job at Google, so what do you think was that mindset that really helped you जो कि job आपको Google में करवा सकी है process में?
Thank you. So Google was initially not my eventual goal. It is, I would say, part of the process. It's part of my journey. मेरे नज़दीक और मेरा ये नज़रिया है कि growth is a continuous process. The day I think and I believe that I know everything or I know enough is the day my growth will stop. It was very comfortable for me जब हम entrepreneurship की बात करें. मेरे जो करियर का आगाज़ हुआ था वो अकेडेमिया में एक यूनिवर्सिटी से हुआ. जैसे मैंने आपको कहा, मैंने नो कभी नहीं कहा. तो मैं मार्केटिंग इंडस्ट्रियल लिंकेजेस को लीड करी थी. आई वाज हेडिंग इट. फिर एक छोटी सी अपॉर्चुनिटी आई कि जी आप बिजनेस स्कूल को हेड करें. डिड दैट फॉर अ वेरी स्मॉल पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, बट आई हैव डन दैट एज वेल. But then I found that I need to do more now. On the side, I was Google के अपने business groups होते हैं, communities होती हैं called Google Business Groups. So I was very active in that. वो कैसे हुआ? मैं इस चीज़ से पूरा यकीन रखती हूँ कि आप कुछ भी करना चाहें, ढूंढने से तो खुदा भी मिल जाता है. आप कुछ भी करना चाहें, आप कर सकते हैं जिंदगी में. आप खुद जो हैं अपने लिए एक रुकावट होता है. You're an obstacle yourself. क्योंकि वो आपका दिमाग या आप अपने आप को ट्रेन इस तरह करते हैं या अपना माइंड बनाते हैं कि जी ये नहीं हो सकता, एंड यू स्टार्ट बिलीविंग इन दैट एंड देन यू स्टार्ट मैनिफेस्टिंग इट एज वेल. सो इफ यू मैनिफेस्ट पॉजिटिव, पॉजिटिव विल हैपन. आपने मेहनत करनी है और फिर खुदा पे छोड़ना है. पहले खुदा पे नहीं छोड़ना. आप पहले मेहनत करें, यकीन रखें, फिर आपकी खुदा जो है अल्लाह ताला की मदद करेंगे. I very strongly believe in that. So with marketing industrial linkages on the side, I wanted to know if this is some representation of Google in Pakistan. This is back in 2012 because I was representing my family enterprise in the Chamber of Commerce, and I started spearheading the Women Chamber of Commerce for their you could say they started a youth forum, and I was spearheading that. So I found out, I didn't know anyone. It was just a cold call to somebody. I Googled actually. They had a country consultant in Pakistan. So I reached out to him. He came to Peshawar and he said, Maryam, why don't you think, he saw my passion, how passionate I was interacting with the budding entrepreneurs, Peshawar ki khawateen thi, and connecting them to the industry. And I was so passionate about tech as well because that workshop was on how to build your businesses online. I still remember. 2013 की बात है, एंड उन्होंने मुझे कहा कि आप करें. मुझे कनेक्ट किया. गूगल सिंगापुर में उस वक्त होती थी एरिका हैंसन, एंड शी वाज द ग्लोबल लीड फॉर गूगल बिजनेस ग्रुप्स. दैट्स हाउ गूगल बिजनेस ग्रुप स्टार्टेड इन पेशावर. 2013 की बात है, एंड हमने 7 साल तक चलाया. द प्रोग्राम हैज बीन सनसेट बाय गूगल नाउ. लेकिन 7 साल में जो इम्पैक्ट, एंड इट वाज ऑल वॉलंटियर वर्क. बाबर, मजे की बात तो ये है क्योंकि पैशन जो आते थे, हमारे जो अटेंडीज आते थे, they would learn, they were techies, startups in the tech space, or businesses who wanted to be online, and build themselves online. So it was all about that. वो हुआ, Chamber of Commerce हुआ, SARC Chamber में भी representation की थोड़े से के लिए. उसके बाद NIC बन रहा था. This is back in 2016. And this is where your network also comes in, So I was somebody at Rosie, actually the head of Rosie.pk, he introduced me to Zohair and Pervez, who were the founders, or I would say the directors of NIC Islamabad. And I was called for an interview in Islamabad club. And then I joined NIC Islamabad as part of the founding team. And जो हम 5-6 लोगों की टीम थी initially, हमने एक कमरे से काम किया, and we made NIC Islamabad happen. And it's been a great experience. So every step of the way, I challenged myself to try something new, do something new. But at the same point in time, I was passionate about technology and entrepreneurship. एंड मेरी पूरी जर्नी जो है 2013 से लेके जब मैंने ग्रेजुएट किया 2012 में किया, तो तब से टेक एंड स्टार्टअप्स के साथ रही. वो ट्रांसलेट हुई फिर इवेंचुअली NIC इस्लामाबाद में. फिर उसके बाद जब NIC में मैंने 1 साल तक काम किया, एंड देन आई न्यू बाय दैट पॉइंट इन टाइम कि मैं अपनी जिंदगी के साथ क्या करना चाहती हूँ. आई ऑलवेज वांटेड टू हैव माय ओन enterprise, and I knew this is the right time to start Impact Dynamics, which is basically consultancy. And it was driven by, what we did was we worked around entrepreneurship, human enterprise and enterprise development through tech skills and soft skills. So वहाँ पे भी technology का काम था. So it's always been a journey of how you can bring businesses and ideas to life and sustain them through technology. Yeah.
Very nice. I you know what? I think we should definitely appreciate how nicely NIC really operates in the incubation processes. Since I was a part of the first cohort for NIC Peshawar, आप भी तब उधर हुआ करती थी. लेकिन मुझे I've had experience with different incubation setups in in Peshawar mainly, and Pakistan में अगर आप कहते हैं बहुत थोड़े level पे as compared to your experiences, मेरा उतना तो नहीं है. लेकिन what I've seen is NIC does it very professionally. The model that they have and everything. I think that should be for some other podcast as well. How do they really operate and what not? But coming back to ये question मैंने basically बाद में पूछा था, but since you've added that so nicely into your answers, Maryam, how important do you believe networking is in the job search process? And what are some of the ways that it can help someone secure a job? I want to ask this question for many people around. Often you would see people reaching out to you on LinkedIn saying, this is my CV and can you help me land a job? So what do you think? What are you going to let them know, advise them about having a good network for job search?
Networking is everything. In a sentence, this is why I'm here at Google. I'll be very honest, very straightforward about it. Of course, besides my talent, but it has to be a mix of talent and networking, and that's how things work. Babur, कोई एक event नहीं है that I can point out to कि जहाँ जाके मुझे फायदा नहीं हुआ. And I'm talking about an event maybe not even related to my field directly. So I make it a point, and I mean, people shy away from reaching out to others at events, at networking events. We might hear a no. But my question is, so what? I mean, that is better than thinking about what if for the rest of your life. So, why not eliminate the what if and, make it happen? And believe me, majority of the time, it's just in our head. When you walk up with confidence, and you introduce yourself, you're authentic, you're true to yourself. आप अपनी capability में believe करते हैं, आप जिस चीज के बारे में passionate हैं, आपको इतना बोलने की जरूरत भी नहीं है. आप बताएं in simple, clear, crisp words कि आप क्या करते हैं, आपका ask क्या है, दूसरा बंदा हमेशा respond करता है. और अगर नहीं करते तो आप उनको nudge कर सकते हैं, देख सकते हैं, they will respond back. If they don't, they're lost. And that's also okay. That also happens at times, but it doesn't happen every time. So networking is so important that I believe that not only do you win people in terms of, so if you talk about my tribe, and when I say my tribe, I think we all have our tribe. Tribe are the people who are our allies, who vouch for us, in gatherings, even at workplace, she's really good with what she does. Maybe you should try getting her, to work for you in this project, or maybe give her a 20%, of the work, or maybe, I think she's great, maybe a promotion in your absence. They're your allies. And it's not necessary that your allies are part of your field. What's interesting is I got my tribe with folks from different industries, banking sector, telcos, MNCs, different companies. And one way or the other, we all help each other out, and we all learn from each other. And there's a brilliant cross-pollination of ideas. So networking is so important. इसी से फिर आगे मैं आपको बताती हूँ मजे की बात. So I got recommended in Google. And at the same point in time, a recruiter reached out to me. So my recommendation, I was, somebody working at Google who had seen my work, and I met them just twice previously. That's it.
Nice. That's
networking for you, right? So just twice before, working at Google senior काफी, उन्होंने मुझे recommend किया. And then at the same point in time, maybe, and I believe strongly, not maybe, it was meant to happen as well.
Absolutely.
Recruiter also reached out to me on LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is equally important as well. So this is how important networking is. I'm here in Google right now because I was recommended. And of course, I went through my round of interviews and I proved myself and my worth. And that's why I'm here. So networking does a lot of wonders. And not just at Google, I got great opportunities that people don't know of because I didn't take them. In some very big companies, not naming them because I didn't join them, but they're MNCs for sure, some opportunities abroad as well, and some really good positions. But maybe I was not interested, or I was running impact dynamics and pretty passionate about that at that point in time. So I didn't take it up. But all because of networking and LinkedIn.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Great insight about how important networking is in job searches. Uh, um, since since you said it's very important, right? So, do you think Google में job land करने की जो process है, do you think networking या referral processes जो हैं they're equally important in landing a job? या नहीं? Do they specifically go on with a portal where you go on apply, or is it coming back to the question कि हम इसी तरह कर सकते हैं कि if we know someone at Google, जो कि the word you use, your tribe, if they're a part of your tribe, doesn't matter if they're from industry or not, if they know who you are, they know you professionally, in what capacity you can work, and if they vouch for you. So do you think that really helps you pave the path towards landing a job at Google as well?
That's a good question because Babar, एक तो सबसे पहली बात, one formula doesn't fit all. So it's different for different people. Networking is a great ingredient, is a key ingredient, but it's one of the key ingredients for landing a job at Google. There are many other things that come into play. Secondly, is keeping your profile up to date. And I really, really mean it on LinkedIn. And I would say I don't post very frequently on LinkedIn, but I've seen some people, some folks, who make it a point, like maybe post every Thursday and then every Sunday, and they have a routine around it and they see when the traffic is like really good, and then they make sure that whatever they've done, they connect with people through their own personal story. So आपने इसको बहुत वर्डी नहीं बनाना होता, आप लोगों के साथ अपने अल्फाज में अपनी कहानी जो है उसके थ्रू कनेक्ट कर सकते हैं और बहुत अच्छे तरीके से कर सकते हैं. एंड स्टोरी टेलिंग इज एन आर्ट. it's a great art and it comes to play. आप जैसे हम जब अपने एक दोस्त से बात करते हैं, अगर हम उसी तरह लिंक्डइन पे बात करें with our audience, it will have a different impact. So
very true.
Keeping your LinkedIn update, because Google or any other great company, they actually pick out information in relation to, like if your profile matches. So what is profile matching actually? Like if your profile matches, they'll reach out to you, right? The recruiter will reach out to you. As I said, I got recommended, and then at LinkedIn, the recruiter also reached out to me. So basically you have those keywords, or, you've done things that they're looking for. How would they know? Because you're posting, you're keeping your profile up to date. So that makes a huge impact. The third important, and I really want to stress out on this, is a lot of people make this mistake when they're submitting their CVs as well. Highlight the important things that you've done and what is really asked. अगर आपने वो काम किया, आप उसको जरूर highlight करें अपनी CV में. वो pick हो जाएगा, it will be highlighted. वो match हो जाएगा. If that makes
very
sense.
true.
Yeah. तीसरी important बात जी, Google का ये है कि अब जब मैंने किया था, आई डोंट नो अब क्या है, लेकिन आप एक टाइम ब्रैकेट में, टाइम फ्रेम में 3 जॉब्स के लिए एक वक्त में अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. उसके बाद आपको थोड़े अरसे के लिए वेट करना होता है दोबारा. उसका रीजन ये ताकि आप उन रोल्स को सीरियसली लें. तो काफी लोग पढ़ते नहीं और रोल्स के लिए अप्लाई कर देते हैं. आप देखिए आपका फिलहाल क्या लेवल है. मैं ये नहीं कह रही अपने आप को अंडर एस्टिमेट नहीं करना चाहिए. Of course, I'm sure everybody's great out there, but read the role, see what matches best with what you've done, and then apply for that. That would increase the probability of, landing the job. So that's another tip I want to give. And fourthly, I really want to suggest that, keep on trying. I was also recommended back in 2018, by the way, for another role at Google.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So I said, okay, they were okay with impact dynamics and everything. First round cleared, second round cleared, third round I couldn't clear, but I didn't lose hope. I was like, if it happens again, why not? I'll give it a shot. And then it happened again after a few years. So don't give up on any opportunity just because it did not happen for the first time. You might land with that opportunity if it's meant for you the second time. But at your end, you have to work very hard for it. And fifthly, do your homework. Just don't walk into the interview. I'll just go with the flow. Yeah, great. But in the interview, go with the flow. But before the interview, do your homework and have the knowledge of the domain or the area they're going to question you about. Yeah.
That's so true. That's so true. Oftentimes, couple of times I have been at the other side of the table where we were interviewing people for different positions. So आपको इस किस्म के भी मतलब बहुत ही over enthusiastic candidates भी मिलते हैं जो they want to have the job. They're very good with everything, but the moment you ask them, what do you know about this organization? They're like, we didn't study this. All right, did you study the JD of this job description of this position? We didn't do that. This really, I think it's very important to note how important is homework, because at the end of the day, that really shows how much effort you're going to be putting into scoring a job that you're applying for. So that's very important. Abhi, since you've added these 5 golden nuggets for us, pointing out a lot of things that I think we were not एक्सपेक्टिंग राइट. जैसे मुझे नहीं पता था कि गूगल में आप एक ब्रैकेट में इतने नंबर ऑफ जॉब्स अप्लाई कर सकते हैं, उसके बाद आपको दे पुट पॉज ऑन यू, सो यू नॉट बेसिकली नॉट जस्ट क्या कहते हैं, यू नॉट अब्यूजिंग द पोर्टल, मे बी नॉट अब्यूजिंग द प्रोसेस, राइट. जैसे आप बार बार भेज रहे हैं तो बेहतर है टू पुट पॉज ऑन यू, डू योर होमवर्क, कम बैक आफ्टर सम टाइम. That's a great insight for us as well. So tell me, Maryam, what skills do you believe are necessary for, or maybe desirable for someone who is interested in applying for a job at Google? जैसे आपने अप्लाई किया, you had your experiences. अब हम अगर walk through अपने आप को करें तो हम ये देख रहे हैं कि you had your experiences in the same domain, you had a tribe from different industries, you had your entrepreneurial experiences. उसके बाद फिर आपने गूगल ज्वाइन करने से पहले GBG जो था, गूगल बिजनेस ग्रुप जो था, उसकी पार्टिसिपेशन आपने रखी हुई थी अपने पास. यू लीडिंग दैट चैप्टर एज वेल, आई बिलीव. फिर हम अगर देखें तो हम ये कहते हैं कि आपने एक बार अप्लाई किया, फिर आपने किया. सो इन ऑल दिस प्रोसेस, डू यू थिंक देयर इज समथिंग दैट गूगल रियली लुक्स फॉरवर्ड टू कि ये स्किल्स होने चाहिए? डिग्रीज ठीक है, डिग्री तो आपकी क्वालिफाई हो जाएंगी. अब अगर XYZ आप अप्लाई करेंगे या आपके साथ और अप्लाई करें, तो अगर आपकी डिग्री सेम है तो ओनली देन you'll be eligible for that position. But what are the leverages? Yes, क्या सॉफ्ट स्किल्स कोई ऐसे देखे जा रहे हैं, कोई ऐसे डिजायरेबल, कोई ऐसा ट्रेड देखा जा रहा है? Do you believe that you have and the other candidate did not and you scored that job? So I want to have a little bit of insight with that as well.
Sure. I can't speak for the other candidates because,
Sure.
it's no, because it's very confidential. So I don't know who else applied.
Mm-hmm.
That information will never be given out to me. So they're very fair in their processes over here. Every candidate's privacy is maintained. But that's a great question. So पहली बात ये है कि गूगल में टेक्निकल एंड नॉन टेक्निकल रोल्स होते हैं. सो आई एम हियर फॉर अ नॉन टेक्निकल रोल. माय रोल इज दैट ऑफ पार्टनरशिप. सो partnerships में our partners happen to be very interestingly the gaming and apps community. I'm looking after the South market, that is the South Asia frontier, जिसमें Pakistan is one of the countries, and very excited to give back now to Pakistan now through Google.
Amazing.
So yes, which is it's a great feeling. तो जनरली जो कुछ बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज़ें देखी जाती हैं, और शायद वो बहुत बड़े वर्ड्स लगें, भारी अल्फाज लगें, लेकिन बड़े इंपॉर्टेंट अल्फाज हैं, और बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट आप कह सकते हैं क्वालिटीज़ हैं जो आप में होनी चाहिए इन ऑर्डर टू गेट और लैंड अ जॉब एट गूगल. पहली बात है लीडरशिप. देखते हैं यहाँ पे आपसे कुछ सवाल होते हैं, वो लीडरशिप के अराउंड होते हैं, और कोई बहुत जेनेरिक किस्म के सवाल नहीं होते. वो केस टू केस डिपेंड करता है, आपसे पूछेंगे, और वो देखना चाहते हैं कि आप क्या लीड कर सकते हैं. फिर जो क्वेश्चंस होते हैं वो सिचुएशनल होते हैं कि आप जो हैं किसी भी सिचुएशन में अगर आपको डाल दिया जाए तो आप किस तरह नेविगेट करेंगे. वो देखना चाहते हैं आप किस तरह आपकी क्या अप्रोच है. एंड देयर इज नो रॉन्ग एंड राइट आंसर बाबर, क्योंकि हर किसी की अप्रोच मुख्तलिफ हो सकती है.
Very true.
लेकिन किस तरह आप उसे अप्रोच करते हैं, दैट इज व्हाट मेक्स अ डिफरेंस, राइट.
True.
तो और वो बहुत डिपेंड करता है कि कैंडिडेट किस तरह अंडरस्टैंड करता है प्रोजेक्ट को, किस तरह लीड करना चाहता है, एंड ऑल ऑफ दोस थिंग्स. वो प्रोजेक्ट की पाइपलाइन किस तरह मेंटेन करना चाहता है, प्रोजेक्ट को एंड किस तरह करना चाहता है. और एक लफ्ज है यहाँ पे जो बहुत कॉमन है, आपकी गूगलीनेस देखते हैं. And there's no one answer to what makes a person googly, but googliness is a way, which is जो जितने भी आप गूगलर्स को देखेंगे वो उनका एक नॉर्म है, वो किस तरह अपने आप को मेंटेन करते हैं, बिहेव करते हैं. Once you're in Google, you understand what is Google, what is not googly, right? So वो देखते हैं कि आप में वो qualities हैं, apart from of course the core, जो आपके questions आते हैं जो आपकी field से related हैं या जो role से related हैं. मेरे उसमें पार्टनरशिप्स और क्योंकि मैं एडमॉप को देखती हूँ, जो मोबाइल एड्स को देखती हूँ कि उससे आप कैसे मोनेटाइज कर सकते हैं. हमारे जो गेमिंग पार्टनर्स हैं जो एप्स बनाते हैं, टूल्स एंड यूटिलिटी एप्स बनाते हैं, वो किस तरह मोनेटाइज कर सकते हैं. सो देयर वर सम क्वेश्चंस इन रिलेशन टू दैट, बट इट्स एन एंटायर पैकेज of your skill set, core required for the job, and a lot of other things जो आपकी जॉब से डायरेक्टली लिंक्ड, मतलब जॉब से लिंक्ड हैं, लेकिन मतलब कि वो टेक्निकल क्वेश्चंस नहीं होंगे, टेक्निकल सवाल नहीं होंगे, लेकिन वो आपकी पर्सनालिटी की डिपिक्शन है या आप काम को किस तरह लेके जाते हैं आगे वर्क प्लेस में, उसकी डिपिक्शन है. तो ये सारी चीजें मिला के एक इंटरव्यू का पैकेज बनता है. इस सवाल are created around it. Yeah.
Wow, I think that is one of the reason why these all these employees at Google, Facebook, Meta में in fact हो गया, Google में हो गया, आपके पास X में हो गया, they're best of the best in terms of their abilities to solve issues, and this is one of the reasons why these companies are leading the industry in their domains, because just आपने word use किया, they have a complete package. Just not you being technically sound, but you being non-technically sound as well. How you're going to be taking up challenges when you take up that leadership role. Scenario basis को किस तरीके से देख रहे हैं, किस perspective से देख रहे हैं, the concept वो framework का जो lens आप अपने लिए एक issue को देखने के लिए कर रहे हैं, वो आप किस level से देख रहे हैं. So that's amazing. Since Maryam, you're from Pakistan, mashallah. So tell us about how does Google approach diversity and inclusion in its hiring and workplace culture? We're very excited to know that because हम अक्सर ये देखते हैं कि इन organizations में हमारी जो representation है वो काफ़ी कम है. It's हम देखा जाए तो percentage में बहुत कम है. It's just not, I personally believe, as from a very far perspective, मुझे personally feel होता है कि it's not about the diversity issue. It's mainly about we lack in few things जो कि उनकी शायद कैपेसिटी प्रोसेसेस में या उनकी बेयर मिनिमम रिक्वायरमेंट से फिल इन नहीं हो रहा. So seeing that whole process, since you're from Pakistan, but you have an amazing experience, mashallah. So how did you feel about Google approaching diversity and inclusion in its hiring process? Or since you've joined the workplace culture, how do you see that? I want to know the insights of that. Gets me really excited.
This is such a good question, and I'm so glad I'm speaking about it. So, Babar, I'm not just representing Pakistan, but I always mention this. I like to mention my hometown. I'm representing Peshawar as well when I speak about Pakistan. So, yes, Pakistan and Peshawar. जब आप अपनी journey की बात करते हैं, inclusion is such a good question because Google is super big on diversity and inclusion. हमारे यहाँ पे इतने internal programs हैं for the safety and for safeguarding the interest of all Googlers. Be it internally, मैं आपको थोड़ा सा बताऊँ, हमारा जो leaves का system है, work from anywhere in the world का system है, so that you can focus on your mental health. It feels like a family, like you're comfortable when you go to work, So it's in terms of that, they're really, really very cognizant that everybody's doing well, all the employees are doing well. And in terms of folks joining in, like myself, और आप inclusion की बात करें और आपने बात पाकिस्तान की, तो Google बहुत इस चीज़ का ख्याल करता है कि representation हर खित्ते हर जगह से हो. तो बहुत सारी जॉब्स आप देखेंगे गूगल में, वो कभी कभी लैंग्वेज स्पेसिफिक भी होती हैं, रीजन स्पेसिफिक भी होती है. जो मेरी जो जॉब थी उसकी रिक्वायरमेंट एक ये थी कि मुझे उर्दू आती हो, बिकॉज मैंने जिन कम्युनिटीज़ के साथ कम्युनिकेट करना है, उर्दू इज़ अ रिक्वायरमेंट. सो गूगल इज़ वेरी कॉग्निजेंट अबाउट इंक्लूजन. सो बहुत सारे रोल्स गूगल में ऐसे होते हैं, जॉब्स जहाँ पे जो रीजन फोकस्ड होते हैं, बिकॉज दे टारगेट डिफरेंट रीजन्स. एशिया पैसिफिक में भी, जैसे मैं साफ मार्केट को देख रही हूँ, कोई जापान को देख रहा होगा, कोई कोई किसी और रीजन को देख रहा होगा, कोई ऑस्ट्रेलिया न्यूजीलैंड को देख रहा होगा. एंड देन वी हैव डिफरेंट रीजन्स, EMEA, वहाँ पे डिफरेंट रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं. So they make sure that there's representation from all these regions, and at the same point in time, probably where we lack, or where, and this is very general. It's a very general thing that I'm mentioning, and I think it goes across the board for anybody who doesn't land a job at Google. It has nothing to do with from where you are. it has everything to do with how well you did in the interview process.
Wow,
So yes,
that's
and
that's
that's very true actually. Yeah.
that's like a very important point to ponder on. Often, like I said, just आपने बड़ी अच्छी बात इसमें की. It's not always about अक्सर लोग जॉब इंटरव्यू, क्योंकि मेरा नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन जो है ना वो इसी के साथ लिंक हो रहा है, तो आपने बड़े अच्छे तरीके से उसको इतना अच्छा ज्वाइन कर दिया है कि your starting experiences, your experiences at the interviews and everything. So oftentimes when you take interviews for different positions, people get offended when they don't get a job. अक्सर times आपको ये सुनने को मिलता है कि लोग blame game शुरू कर देते हैं. Now whatever that is in, sorry.
I would say that's not googly.
Exactly, they start having a very non-googly attitude, right? So उसमें आपको एक चीज understand ये करनी पड़ती है कि there are a lot of job opportunities, no doubt. If you don't score that means you're not, you might have great experiences, but you might not be capable for that specific opportunity. या आप शायद उस challenges को accept या उस तरीके से present कर नहीं सके. But again, that doesn't mean that you don't have the capacity या आप में capabilities नहीं in order to like score say similar job at different organization. Joining this question with few more, with 2 to 3 more, because I'm sure you have, this is your weekend, you have your time for your family as well. We're taking it out on a podcast, but I'm sure people are going to get really educated about your experiences. So
Yeah.
you see, what advices do you have for people just starting their careers and looking to make a positive impact? I'm sure people would be reaching out to you on LinkedIn, since जब पता चल जाता है आपको अपनी community में कि XYZ Google, तो automatically everyone's like they start become like friends more than acquaintances. They invade your personal LinkedIn spaces as well. बहुत ज़्यादा comments हो जाते हैं, CFBR शुरू हो जाता है, message शुरू हो जाते हैं. So just for like as a broadcast, imagine you want to let people know just starting their careers. So what is the piece of advice you're going to be giving them?
Okay. That's a great question. But before that, I'd just like to share my thoughts on the last bit that you just mentioned, right? If you don't land a job at Google, it definitely does not mean that you're not capable enough or you lack anything that you couldn't land a job at Google. Some companies are so competitive. Google is extremely competitive. So that means you were good, but you can be great. Something like that. So, hence apply again. So you have what it takes, because even getting shortlisted for an interview means a big deal at Google. So, I mean, please clap for yourself, please pat yourself on the back, but that means you level up, and now you know what not to do जब आप अगली दफा interview करेंगे.
Wow, that's a great perspective. That's a great perspective. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. Secondly, my suggestion and advice, one, I love when people reach out on LinkedIn, and I wish I had the capacity to reply back to everyone. I try my level best, Babar. I make posts so that people can benefit from like a lot of folks ask me on LinkedIn, and I do understand LinkedIn is a public platform. It's a public professional platform, and anybody can reach out to me over there, and I'm more than happy to guide them. कि आप किस तरह जॉब मिलती है, क्या होता है. मैंने 2-3 पोस्ट की थी around that as well. So one suggestion and one advice generally to all the people out there is have your eyes on the goal. There will always be noise, but it's up to you. What do you want to pay attention to? But having said that, do not fall in love with your ideas to the extent that you're not willing to pivot ever in your life. There will be a lot of opportunities. Take them as they come by, and you can go beyond what you believe is currently your limit. Yeah.
Wow, I'm not basically someone who's starting his career, but I'm just going to save this for myself. I'm just going to take that as a guide for myself. This is very important. आपका aim, आपकी जो एक final goal है, that should not be, देखिए, it should be adaptable and flexible. That is very important for it to be. अगर आप एक process में rigid हो जाते हैं, so that means there's no process of bending towards anything, and eventually you're going to break, right? So it's always good to be adaptable. It's always good to be flexible. I've had that in my previous experiences as well. I started off with one experiences, with this, and now I think I'm eventually getting towards my career plan. So her, I think with the changing technologies, with the new opportunities that are coming in the market, आपको थोड़ा सा अपने goals को भी इतना adaptable, flexible रखना चाहिए कि अगर आप उसको थोड़ा सा भी left right करते तो आपकी foundations ना हिल सकें. You're still there. You're still at that verge of joining that goal. Maryam, you're a human, right? Obviously. So people who are going to be looking up to you, knowing that Maryam is working at Google. So I'm sure people would be in a place to replicate a lot of things that you've done. जैसे अभी उन्होंने देखा कि अच्छा entrepreneurial एक background है मरियम का. She has been a part of GBG networking, and बताया कि you should have very good networking, and you should basically don't lose hope. If you don't really score a job once, apply again, but make sure you've done your homework. Now people would be thinking, अच्छा, how can I relate more with Maryam in that aspect? So what are your strengths and weaknesses that people can feel okay about? They can be like, अच्छा यार ये weakness तो मुझ में भी है. So that means that's not a bad thing, because maybe Maryam has the same weakness and she is at Google, which means that makes us an equal human, right? So what are your strengths and weaknesses?
I think strengths, maybe I can come later to that. Weaknesses, I know for sure. One of my biggest weakness is I'm an overthinker, which makes me think a lot about my work, the current work that I'm doing. And that greatly does improve the quality, but that's something you need to manage, because time management is a thing. So that's one of my weakness, if I have to say, and it's a big one. I am an overthinker. Strengths, I love working with people, I would say. I think human beings are beautiful in their own way. Everybody adds a different flavor to your life, to your work. And you get to learn so much from each other. And I really, really mean it. It's interesting because in the Asia Pacific office we have of Google at Singapore, Babar, we have more than 70 nationalities. So there's so much diversity. Ab diversity ki baat kare the. That's the amount of diversity we have. And everybody looks different. Everybody dresses up differently, speaks different. It adds so much of flavor to your workspace. And आप realize करते हैं कि you're just a small dot in this universe, and this universe has so much diversity and so much to offer. And you're just talking about just one company, one workplace, which has so much of diversity, right? And
Wow.
अगर इतनी यहाँ पे तो अल्लाह ताला की कायनात इतनी बड़ी है, universe is so huge. There's so much to learn from. It makes you really, I think it makes you humble. Yeah.
I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. I'm sure it does. The way you've explained diversity and all this, I'm sure experiencing all that at a given time at a single organization, I'm sure आपको बहुत ही humble कर देती होगी, because शायद ऐसा experiences आपको बाहर या किसी और organization में इतना easily नहीं मिलते, जहाँ आप more than 70 क्या कहते हैं diversities या different nationalities की बात अगर कर रहे हैं. I think you said 70, is that correct? 70?
70. Yeah.
70.
Yeah.
I'm sure the best part about is कि आप professionally तो grow करें, लेकिन आप personal level में भी grow करें, कि you're picking out the greats out of those 70 nationalities and identities of people, and you're trying to replicate that within yourself. Just a disclaimer, the strengths and weaknesses that you shared, I have the same. I am an overthinker, and that is the reason I used to paint back in the days. I used to do a lot of digital painting. And weaknesses, I love interacting with people, and I think that is one of the reasons why I started doing on Instagram. You would find
I
a
want
lot
to
of
see your
people.
artwork. I would love to see it. Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to share it with you. Once this podcast concluded, I will be sending you complete list of few of the images that I've done recently. So I'm going to be sharing that with you. And absolutely about the strengths, I love interacting with people. This podcast was something that I was really skeptical about. I was like, yeah, Babar, everyone is doing podcasts. Like, why do you want to do a podcast? And I was like, I want to do because I like interacting with people. I want to have a good time with people. I want to learn more about people in a very informal way. And why keeping it to ourselves? Let's put it out for people. Maybe एक बंदा भी अगर आपको उस podcast से या उस view से थोड़ा सा अपने अंदर कोई change feel करता, that is your accomplishment. We're not here to change the entire world, but I think we all should play our part to at least change the life of one person, and eventually it's like a dominoes effect. आप एक का करते हैं, दूसरे को आगे आगे आगे, and I think it's more like a सदका जारिया. एक अच्छी काम आप करेंगे, आगे वो जाता रहेगा. So one last question. I promise that's the one last question, and then you can
Sure.
be.
I'm enjoying it.
I'm happy to know that. So, one piece of wisdom. This question is going to be something that I'm going to be asking every guest that I get on my podcast. It is one piece of wisdom that you wish you had known earlier. It can be from any professional perspective, personal perspective, anything that you feel comfortable in sharing.
Yeah, that's a good one, and that's a tough one. So I don't know if it'll be wisdom or advice. But I would have to say that there is nothing known as I'm too old to do this, and there's no there's no age to do a specific thing. You can try and start something at any age, and I really,
Wow.
really mean it. Like I did a lot of things in my 30s. And 30s, it sounds cliche, 30s are the new 20s. No, they were not new 20s. My 20s had passed and I started my 30s. I learned how to drive in my 30s. I started playing squash. I learned squash and then I started playing squash in my 30s.
Oh, that's nice.
You don't need to have an age to start something or to do something. And don't just keep your life, your work will be better, by the way, if you have activities other than work around you. I mean your job. So please make sure your life is a blend of it. Yeah.
That's right. You're never too old to learn anything. That's absolutely right. I often feel that as well at times. I'm about to be 30. I think inshallah 2024 February. So I'm always like, yeah, isse pehle kar lo bura ho raha, but nahi, that's a great perspective. You're never too old to learn anything, and I think it comes back to the first thing that you said. I'm very happy. So you started off the interview with connecting this. It all aligns very perfectly. Like you said, you started everything back when you were 13. Your entrepreneurial processes, and you were very inspired with it. So it's always about age shouldn't be the factor that defines कि आपने क्या करना क्या नहीं करना. In all good means, jobs, perspective, your learning processes should be ever growing. It should not be putting yourself on a cap कि नहीं बस अब मैं इसका हो गया हूँ. And the moment you put a pause on yourself and you think you've learned everything, that's the day when you stop like learning more, and that's the start of your downfall as well.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, Maryam, for being in this podcast. It was a pleasure being here with you, and it was an honor, in fact, learning more about your experiences, because you're someone that I have I have looked up to as well. When I was at NIC, I've been in touch with you as well. आपके extra posts वगैरह मैं देख भी रहा था. What are things that she's doing? अच्छा, this is because I myself really enjoyed part of entrepreneurship. I still am running digital media marketing setup by the name Social Mamba. So I really often really get interested when people from the same domain get along. So it was a pleasure and honor being here and interviewing you and putting all these thoughts out for the people.
Thank you. I feel the same way, but I just want to say, like, maybe later I would love to learn how to do podcasts. That's something I'm also interested in.
Absolutely. I'm learning this as well, and I'll be more than happy to share that with you. I have few templates going on, so मैं आपको वो भी share करवा देता हूँ. And one thing more before we wrap up everything. How can people connect with you? What's the best mode of platform that you think that they can connect you on? So we're going to add those links in the description as well. So before we wrap it up, please.
Absolutely. LinkedIn for sure. And my Instagram is not really about work, but if they want to, okay, Instagram as well maybe, but LinkedIn for sure, professionally for LinkedIn, yeah.
Sounds great. So you've heard Maryam here. You're going to get in touch with Maryam. We're going to put those links in the description as well, along with the Instagram and LinkedIn. Apart from that, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe and rate this podcast to show your support. Thank you so much, everyone. Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you.